Good evening and welcome to the April 10th, 2024 Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Committee meeting. I would like to ask Chair Dunhan Sims if she would like to begin with the call to order.
Hello, everyone. Shall we join in for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to begin with the roll call. Member Oliver Collins is not present today. I will begin with Member Ben Doyle.
Here.
Chair Faith Donham Sims.
Present.
Vice Chair Kent Moriarty.
I'm here.
And today, presiding over this meeting is KJ Madiak. I am the Public Works Specialist here. And we also have the Traffic Officer Eubanks here with us today. Next, we would like to discuss the approval of minutes for March 13, 2024. TAPS meeting minutes. Do we have any comments regarding the minutes? No comments. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call. Member Ben Doyle.
Aye.
Chair Faith Dunham Sims.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kent Moriarty.
Approve.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to committee member reports. Does the committee have any reports to bring to today's meeting? We will move on to agenda item 5, citizens to be heard. So there are no comments at this time. We will move on to item number 6, traffic and pedestrian safety issues submitted by the citizens of Pinole. We have number 1, traffic signs at Pinole Middle School for no U-turns. And number 2, ADA ramps on Pinole Valley Road and Granada opposite Shade Drive are obstructed by large phone poles. Do we have any comments or questions from the committee?
I believe both of these items are currently on our list, and the no U-turns sign in front of Pinole Middle School, I believe that's part of what the engineering firm is working on for us with the whole fix Pinole Middle School traffic situation. So I know that is being addressed, and Sanjay, perhaps you can shed a little bit more light on that.
Yes. So after our workshop with all the residents and the stakeholders regarding Pinole Middle School, we have reached out to the school to verify what their traffic study was as part of the school itself, to actually get an understanding, because all those proposals we had from the our consultant, that was not viable, or it was not agreed upon by all of the stakeholders. So we kind of put a pause on that, and we have reached out to the school to actually get a better understanding how the traffic study was done during when the school was built, and we're trying to get a better feel of that before we actually put any improvements on Man Drive. And I haven't got anything yet, but I would share that once we have. I have looked up now how it could work, but actually the school has to work with us to use the existing area they have there, where actually the traffic can be routed through their existing parking lot, or actually the traffic can go through the school and get out on the other side. But that's a discussion for later with them.
Thank you for that, Sanjay. And just also the number 2, the ADA ramps by Granada, are those the ramps that are obstructed by the ATT poles?
Yes, that is correct. That project actually was part of a Rule 20A project PG&E completed while the high school was built. And that's a leftover pole because one of the utility companies, AT&T, have not completed their undergrounding, and that's why it is still there. We have been following up for the last 2 years. I have been here. I have been following up with them, but they have not been able to give us a scheduled date. But internally, we are working with Public Works Department. We're trying to figure out, even when the pole is there, we're trying to see if we are able to actually use the right-of-way what we have to provide additional space behind the pole. So we may do some minor improvements, like adding little more concrete and a curb behind that, so that at least it is accessible to ADA. So we're working on that right now.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to list of traffic issues discussed and status. At this time, there are no new updates. Does the committee have any any questions or comments regarding any of the items on this list? Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, staff updates. And the first one we'll talk about are the CIP projects, Appian Way and Marlesta intersection project. Does the committee have any comments or questions regarding the project?
Yay, it's done. And it's awesome. Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to development projects. I would like everyone watching online to please visit the website listed on the slide for all development projects currently under review, and make your comments to the Planning Commission. At this time, the city does not have any projects currently under review.
Can I ask a question? Well, that website, I know that there's something in the works for what used to be Kmart, and the project that they're currently looking like they're finishing up out on San Pablo Avenue across from the car wash. It looks like housing and things. Does this website cover everything that is currently in the works and that is projected coming up?
Yeah, I can update on that. Yes, that website does have all those previous projects. The projects you are referring to have already been approved and under construction. So that you will go below that, the list of projects which are currently under construction or under progress, and there's a list in that website, and you can see some of the progress as a separate there, and that should give you the update.
Thank you.
Next topic will be active transportation plan. The CEC meeting was held, and the ATP website walkenrollpinole.com is up and running. Residents do have the opportunity to still comment on the map itself. So if you have, if anyone watching tonight, if you have any additional comments to place on the website map, please feel free to do so. We do need as many comments as possible to get an idea of the public's needs. Thank you. Any comments from the committee?
Yeah, I asked at the last meeting about, I know we have scheduled public workshops that the consultant is going to run those, and I was just wondering if we have any update on when those are going to be.
Okay, so the consultant is working on finalizing some of their sketches for all those locations that we have given those comments. The consultant is, as previously we mentioned, so they are going to be attending another event for the earthwork that is on April 20th, and for getting more comments from people, and another a virtual event with the CEC will be done, and that is where they're going to provide the draft report for everybody to look at it.
I think I wasn't paying attention. There are part of the proposal is to have 2 workshops for the active transportation plan where the public comes and there's a presentation and the public engages, not the pop-up events, but an actual workshop.
The workshop will have, once they have the draft, we'll have the workshop.
Oh, that's the order.
Yeah.
So there will be, the draft is going to be made available to the public?
Yes, it will be online, it will be available to public, and once we can have the workshop to discuss the draft and any finalizing any of those.
Sounds like a good way to do it. I haven't seen it done that way in the past. Like for the example, the parks master plan, the public workshops happened with the consultant before there was a draft, and then that draft somehow incorporated all those comments, and then I don't know the status of it, but then it goes to council and it gets approved. But in this case, the consultant is going to write a draft, it'll be made available, and then there's going to be public comment on that draft.
That's correct, because they have most of the, during our pop-up events, they have the comments. So without something to look at, I don't know, whether workshop is really, beneficial. So if there is something, it is better to look at it and comment, and then give some time to consultant to refine those details.
Okay, that sounds like it could be
Yeah,
way
let's
to do it. It sounds like a new way to do it, but it might be a good way. As long as the draft isn't so fixed that it isn't really allow for
change. Yeah,
accommodate people's the community's input.
no, we'll make that pretty clear to the consultant, and I believe they are on board with that.
Yeah.
Sanjay, I just hopped onto that website and it said pop-up workshop number 3 is April 20th.
That is the Earthwork Day, and that's where we're actually making the same time so that there will be a lot of people, and that pop-up workshop will be held at the Fernandez Park or the Bayfront area. We're trying to figure out a location where we're going to have the tent installed.
Thank you.
Do we have an estimate on when the draft will be made available for people to look at?
I do have an email, but I don't remember
Okay.
from the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any other further comments on the ATP? Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide, grants update. Working on a possible participation with Contra Costa County to seek safe streets and roads for all. Grant program, Pinole Valley Road Project, is currently being evaluated as a possible project. The next slide. Do you have comments?
Yeah, I had a comment about grants. This is more a future agenda item, but since we're talking about grants, it feels like there's a handful of grants out there that concern this group, like this one, the Safe Streets and Roads for All. There's the TDA Article 3, the Bike Ped grant. There's probably like 5 grants. But it's always a little bit murky to me and to us, I think. What are those grants exactly? And what are most of them are yearly grants. And what are the dates that they typically have, the call for projects? It feels like we should have some real visibility of what are those grants, when are they open, so that when we're maybe we have kind of a yearly, we have a discussion where we look ahead and have kind of a strategy for which grants would be good fits for something that we want to accomplish here in Pinole. And it seems like this would be the place for that kind of conversation to happen. It feels like sometimes there's the call for projects, and you have a month to apply, and it's too late, and we don't really have a project that might be a good match for the grant, and so it kind of comes and goes, and it happens year after year, and a number of grants just don't get applied for because they catch us by surprise, and then it's too late. And so I wonder if for a future agenda item, we could just talk about what are the grants, and then come up with a strategy so that we're not caught off guard, and so we could make the best use of the city could take best advantage for those grants that are out there. And now that we have a grant writer consultant, we can get help on evaluating, help in that process.
So I can give a little more detail on that. So the grant writer actually provides city staff, all the department heads, every month the list of grants that's being out there, and we review them. Each department head reviews them and see if there are actually any of those projects going to fit for any of the grants that is available. And once we identify them, we may make a determination whether is it a good candidate. We think that yes, we can, we're eligible, but are we going to be competitive and all that? So that evaluation is actually done by the consultant, the grant writer himself, and they provide us some guidance that you are eligible, but you may not be a great candidate because you don't have these criteria you don't meet, and that may be a problem for you. So for this particular grant, the county not the county, CCTA has actually approached us because they want to actually apply for a bigger project, because for this kind of grants, small projects doesn't really get chosen for a grant. So they are looking out for projects which are kind of ready, and they want to do such that it is a connecting project to the county and it may have a better chance of success. So as you know, previously we have actually this Pinole Valley Road project is pretty much ready to bid, and I haven't bid that yet because of staffing and all that. I kind of hold that. We are pretty ready to bid the phase 1 and phase 2, and but staffing and funds both had the constraints, so I was holding. And that's when I had that call from CCTA, and we said, here you go, we have a project design ready, and I think this would be pretty good because it connects to the county, and this has all the component that is needed for this. And that's where why you see this, that we actually submitted them, but we don't have a because they're talking to all the cities, so I don't have a confirmation if they have chosen this project to apply for or not. So I don't have a confirmation. That's why you see this is a possible project. So
That's great. I just wanted to follow up on what I said before as far as the handful of grants out there that deal with mostly with pedestrian and bicycle safety. There's just a few. And I'm asking that if for a future agenda item, we could just identify what those are. And then, and you talked about there's already a process within staff where the city staff reviews grants with the grant. But I would hope that for the grants that deal with pedestrian, bicycle safety, that process could be more transparent to this group.
understood.
I know that there's a lot of grants that you're always looking at, but for those handful of grants, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 or 5, if we could know what they are and then come up with a strategy so this group and the public has a little bit of transparency for what those grants are, when they're coming up, and then we could give a little bit of feedback so that when the staff does that normal review that you already do, you could have had our feedback.
Understood. I think that would be helpful. I can help prepare that list and provide those details. Give me some time and I can do that.
Thanks.
Thank you. We do have one public comment from phone number, last 4 digits, 5748. You may go ahead and unmute yourself and then introduce.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. You have 3
Yes,
minutes.
I am a public citizen, taxpayer, senior citizen of Pinole, and I echo Mr. Moriarty's comments and would like to have more transparency, not just for the TAPS committee, but for the general public. You know, we're paying the taxes, we're hiring the staff, or trying to hire staff, as well as directors and managers getting paid the big bucks here. So there should be like a formal program or strategy, like Kent said. There should be a chart or a grid that shows identifying the item, the timing involved, the amount of the actual grant, the date, opening dates, the closing dates, and the status and comments from the TAPS and or a section for comments from the public. So when we're ready to go, we can rock and roll with it and not miss the dates that the project closes, as well as we should also make sure we have staff. And Mr. Mishra mentioned before, but it wasn't brought up in any major detail tonight, that, you know, we have a problem as the city of Pinole because we have staffing constraints. So we should dig into that because if we're gonna have staffing constraints, we won't get that grant, application in with all the nuts and bolts that's needed to secure the grant. The staff, the grant writer is just I think, an outside contracted consultant, whether he's full-time or part-time, and he needs all the staff support he can get. And according to Mr. Mishra, the city of Pinole isn't staffed properly, and we don't have enough staff to back up the grant writer and or to secure those grants in a timely fashion. So this should be definitely an agendized item for the next meeting, if not discussed in more detail right now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Anthony. Do we have any additional comments from the committee?
Second, do a report. PD. Just PD report.
We do have Traffic Officer Eubanks here today who will present a traffic report to the committee. Thank you.
Hi, yes. So what I've prepared today is just a general overview of what March looked like for traffic stops and citations. I know there's been past concerns regarding issues with traffic, stop sign violations, speeding, and so forth. So in the month of March, we conducted 452 traffic stops and cited 106 individuals. So just so people can be aware of where we're at with that. And then just to kind of touch basis on the grant information, I will certainly be looking into the traffic grants that are available. I'm newly appointed to this position, so I know we already missed the boat for this year, but moving forward, certainly going to work with our command staff and the city of Pinole to ensure that we can maybe qualify for a few grants.
I had a question since you're here. This is kind of out of left field, and it doesn't so much have to do with traffic safety, but more just traffic and community livability. Are there any constraints on how loud vehicles could be? That along San Pablo Avenue and Pinole Valley, sometimes there are cars. They're not breaking the law. They're not going fast, but they're just so loud, and it just doesn't make for a livable community. And I just wonder if is there any limits or
Yes, so there are California Vehicle Code violations that play into that when a vehicle is too loud. Typically, an officer goes through additional training with CHP, and it kind of relates to sideshows and street racing, and they learn, the in-depth and get the training that's required to be able to cite that individual and then go to traffic court and speak before a traffic commissioner and, get the car impounded and so forth. So we do have a couple of officers, I believe, who are trained in that realm, yes.
it sounds complicated though? Yeah.
Do we have any further questions or comments? So I know member Kent Moriarty did mention a future agenda item as far as transparency for the grants, available grants and applying for the grants. Do we have any other additional future agenda items?
I could make one comment on the, it's already listed on the future agenda items. The TAPS committee name be changed to include bicycles. And I think one reason for that is that we discussed in the past was because for the TDA, I'm forgetting what TDA stands for, but the TDA Article 3 Bike Ped Grant, I think it's, one of the requirements is that the city bike ped group review the grant. That's part of the process, and if the city doesn't have a bike ped or group, then the county does it. And so by changing our name to bike, including bike, it gives us the ability to do that and maybe gives the city some more control over applying for that grant. Is that all correct?
No, the TDA grants actually we apply every year and we do get it. And it's more of a allocation and because it goes through week tag and all. So there is a portion of the grant that we get, but not every year, because sometimes if the big projects comes out in a neighboring city, and then sometimes that grant actually gets kind of reduced or we don't get it. But the next year, usually it is a voting between all the cities. So everybody recognizes the need for all of us, each cities. And then the next year, the grant is awarded to the other city. And as far as going through the TAPS committee, yes. I mean, we should be able to get advice, recommendation from the TAPS for a project. And those are the projects we bring it to the week tag committee to really review and for the grants.
Okay.
And this, it's TDA is for Transportation Development Act 3.
Thanks.
Yeah. So
A couple of comments. One, we've been hit and miss as far as even applying for that grant. There's been a number of years we haven't applied. But I think the process, the process is that the city bicycle ped group review it. But we're not a bicycle ped group, so we can't review it. So I think the county bike ped action committee that's part of CCTA, they review it because we can't. So, but if bicycle is in our name, then we can. And then the county bicycle ped advisory committee isn't the gatekeeper. I think that's how the process works.
I have to review. I mean, I have to verify that for one reason. I don't know. The committee has to be, I believe, not a Brown Sack committee, or it has to be a separate bike community, which is not related to cities. But I have to verify that. I'll get some more information on that. Okay. And regarding the name change and all that, I don't think that's a problem because I know it didn't happen during my time, but it may have happened just before me. I will check that too. And so these two things I will do. I'll verify the naming and also verify if that will actually allow this body to be able to review and comment on those bike projects. So, thank you.
We do have one public comment. Go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Anthony. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, I would like to ask the commission there, as well as the police officer, what happened to the updated report that Sergeant or Lieutenant Avery was supposed to come back to the TAPS commission or committee to identify, to drill down as far as how much of these traffic citations, what type of traffic citations are there, and is 150 versus 450, that's roughly only 30% of the stops are being ticketed. And so why are the other 70% of people being released or admonished as stated, because it's not all showing up on the police blotter, and we don't know. And we don't even know where those hot spots are. So how can TAPS address that? They don't know what they are, why they're being admonished or not being cited or held accountable in our city. You know, it just it needs to be addressed, and that involves being more transparent with the public. And maybe the police chief has his hands full, being the city manager, which he doesn't qualify for, as many people know, for the last 8 months. Maybe a part of the police work in our city is suffering because of his dual role for the last 8 months, for someone else taking over his job. And do they have a strategy to reduce traffic and pedestrian crime, if not other crime, since we missed, in lieu of not securing the $5 or $7 million grant, give or take, like what several other cities did in San Ramon and other cities throughout the Bay Area? You know, do we have a strategy for that? Do we have a strategy for a proactive strategy for sideshows in our city? Because we've had a few, and one was pretty bad with gunshots underneath the I-80 corridor there, and the perpetrator left a bumper there with an ID license plate attached to it. And my son and some of his friends saw that online for several days, but the police couldn't do anything about it. So we need a strategy. We need to have some kind of a protocol with regard to things like that, as well as have a report from Lieutenant Avery and set a limit for these sideshow people, because they think they can come into the city of Pinole willy-nilly and shoot up the place or cause traffic hazards to pedestrians and other.
Thank you for your comments, Anthony. Would the traffic officer Eubanks like to make any comments?
Yes, any questions or concerns you have for Commander Avery and tasks that he may or may not have been assigned should be directed to him directly. You can find his email and contact information on the city website, and feel free to send him an email regarding the concerns that you felt he needed to follow up with.
Thank you. Do we have any additional comments or questions from the committee? Chair, would you like to adjourn the meeting?
Are we at that time? Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will adjourn to our next meeting on Wednesday, May 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Thank you.